Many people swear up and down to me that all malls are literally dead and that none of them will literally exist for much longer. Well, apparently Fargo, North Dakota never got the memo, because their local mall is absolutely packed. Give it a moment, because there was so many crowds I saw that I was wondering if I might even be able to make this video. So for those of you who say I never cover a live mall outside of the Mall Walkers Hour, well, this ought to shut you up. Alright, where did this mall start? Well, West Acres Mall goes back to 1972, reportedly opening in the 2nd of August that year. Original anchors would include Sears, Dayton's, and a very rare Fargo-based department store named Delandrices. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Delandrices would relocate from the downtown area as the company saw the mall as the future, while Dayton's was marked as the first venture by the company outside of Minnesota. At the time, Fargo was much, much smaller. It was merely a large town on the side of the freeways, with West Fargo being a smaller suburb in a field. West Acres was in between, perched within an empty farm field by Interstate 29. Now, Fargo being pretty small at the time does not mean that West Acres wasn't popular, as 1979 would see JCPenney arrive on the scene along with an expansion to the mall, and over the course of the 80s and 90s, the surrounding area would develop, both on this side and the other side of Interstate 29. What was once farmland and maybe a patch of trees would become houses, apartments, commercial, and even light industrial. The line between Fargo and West Fargo would blur, and 13th Avenue would be cemented as the primary retail corridor. And today, much of that retail corridor also extends down South 45th Street. Effectively, if you can't find it in Fargo, then good luck finding it in North Dakota, at least as far as major chains go. As time marched on, Delandrices would make it all the way to 1998, before Herberger's came in and rebranded the nameplate. I don't live in a region that ever had that department store, and the name gets a chuckle from me every time. Herberger's also makes me really hungry for some reason. Also, speaking of burgers, in 2000, a food court would be established at the mall, while Dayton's would turn over to Marshall Field's in 2001, before being turned over to Macy's in 2006. You know, I think that's the first time I've actually seen any mall piano being played. And I think it's actually kinda nice. West Acres Mall never really slowed down, and would even obtain full occupancy as it drew in more premier tenants like Lululemon, Boot Barn, even an independent Sephora store, just to name a few. In fact, the mall was adapting to changing times as it maintained itself as a destination and experience, pivoting towards displays for local artists to show off their work, a grand piano for musicians to perform on, you might have seen that, and the mall fountain has its own history. Originally, the mall fountain would have been a centerpiece in front of what is now Macy's, but in 2001, the fountain was dismantled and then rebuilt in front of JCPenney by Moorhead University art professor P. Richard Seitz. Pardon if I'm mispronouncing that. The fountain is known as the Fountain of Abundance, and, well, you're about to see it in a few seconds. Now that's a fountain. Now, getting back to the mall history, things weren't exactly sunshine and rainbows, as some anchors always have a habit of coming back to haunt these malls. Sears would be the first to go, closing its doors for the last time in 2017. The space was quickly cannibalized to make way for Best Buy, whom relocated from an out parcel. Best Buy's old pad would be where Boot Barn and Guitar Center is now. Herberger's closure in 2018 would be a more problematic one, as Bonton's bankruptcy forced an untimely closure of many nameplates, Herberger's included. As of the making of this video, the space is still vacant but owned by the mall itself, and Von Maur is rumored to open in its place in spring 2025. Now, upon my arrival in 2023, I was shown massive crowds and a mall that was almost limited to standing room. I actually came close to abandoning this video altogether because there were so many people. But I stuck with it, and to be honest, I'm kinda glad I did, because it is good to see a mall that is truly thriving. I haven't seen crowds like this in a long time. And the only real competition this mall has beyond big box stores is the Moorhead Center Mall across the river in Minnesota, and that mall, well, it's not really a thing anymore. And on top of that, the mall looks legitimately nice. I think we're just a few stores and events short of perfect for this mall. Well, as much as I dislike crowds, I did bite the bullet and go look at the food court, and while I didn't exactly show what there is to eat, I was actually impressed by the food court itself. I mean, just look at this. Big, open, airy, you have some local art displayed here and there, and then you have a fireplace right in the middle, which is probably going to be really nice in the winter up here. So the mall's doing well. It's adapting thanks to its current owners, and it features local art and has plenty going on. What is not to love about this place? And speaking of, Fargo itself isn't a bad place to be. I mean, sure, there isn't much to speak of if you like the outdoors, and I'm sure I'll get text walls on how, due to the winter, Fargo is actually the worst place to live. But when employment is good, housing and cost of living is dirt cheap, healthcare is on point, and you have everything and then some for a small to mid-sized city, I'm sure winter might be a small price to pay in the big picture. And while crime does need work in this area, it honestly looks safer than my home city of Winston-Salem, at least on paper. In fact, I've heard jokes about North Dakota being so boring that crime is something the locals look forward to. Seriously, after coming through these areas, I honestly want an excuse to come back. I want an excuse to stay a while eventually reaching Roosevelt National Park. There's just one problem. Lodging. While I was plotting out my route through here, I was unable to find a hotel available that wasn't a roach and hooker motel. There were dozens of better hotels, but apparently none of them had vacancy for one night in August. And I'm not paying $100+ for a room that has a 1 out of 10 on Booking.com. Oh hell no. So I had to stay the night in Wahpeton down the freeway. Although Wahpeton wasn't too bad. I don't know if I got it right, so please go easy on me. Until next time, Fargo, and North Dakota, this is Doomie Grunt wishing you, and the West Acres Mall, farewell, and good luck in this mad, mad, mad world. Is it called Fargo because you have to go far to reach it? Or is it called Fargo because of someone named Fargo?